So are we supposed to deny anything white and Western?
I mean, if I were the EU person and there's a leading opposition figure like Bob Wine, and I'm like, how old is that guy? He's 40 something. I'm like, that guy may be the president in the future. I want to carry favor with him.
When Americans are talking about our resources on the African continent, they talk about them as their resources.
We just can't demonize everything like white or Western or be like, no.
They buy you into soft life slowly, quietly. It's a colonial model. My example is this guy. This guy now drives a Volvo.
I know. I've not seen a risky tweet from him in such a long time.
And when he's driving, there's not simple benevolence. There's no free lunch. There's no free scholarship.
How do we escape this trap?
The core part of treatment is diagnosis.
What ought we do at this point to ensure that that isn't the case? Welcome to the very first edition of What Ought, a podcast by Agora in conjunction with Peloton. Forgive me for that. So I'm here with two amazing people. Yusuf Serunkuma to my right and Aloikin Praise to my left. Yusuf is an author, writer, academic, doctor, Makerere, what? Like there's that fight you have with Makerere that never ends. No, and then there is Praise Aloikin.
Doctor. When you say he's a writer, academic, doctor. No, doctor means nothing in that sentence.
It's the academic is the doctor. Good. Praise is a human rights activist. You're the current holder of the Human Rights Award, right?
Yeah.
From the EU. Does that thing come with money?
I wish it did. I would be rich.
We also wish it did.
I know, man. You would be glad to associate with someone.
Yeah, so Yusuf, we're glad to have you.
She's the recent recruit.
No, we shall get to that.
Colonial Imperium.
Thank God I'm not a recruit then.
Yeah, we are going to have a conversation on that.
So these guys have recruited many people. How long have they given that award? Like 10 years?
Yeah.
So they have already recruited 10 people in Uganda? That's a small number, right?
Well, I mean, normally there is a desk somewhere, either in Europe or in the office of the EU, where they decide which ways to capture, the upcoming elite.
That award is one of them.
How do they see vibrance in you? They see brilliance and good work. They're like, we need that one, because the possibility of your signature becoming money is a big deal
to them.
The possibility of your signature being the most important signature to get Lake Victoria is real. They're looking at you 10 years later when you're the Prime Minister, and your signature will be their access to Lake Victoria. So they start cultivating a friendship early enough.
There's a Praise looking at her and saying, am I going to be that big? She doesn't believe in herself. But before we get there, so let me just say this, Yusuf, first of all. I want us to start with a different conversation.
But I liked your speech.
Yeah, and I was about to get there.
Which speech?
It was great.
He didn't even listen to the speech.
I didn't listen to the speech.
If he had listened to the speech, he would know that
what did you say?
I wouldn't be signing Lake Victoria off.
What did you say?
I think it was basically Yusuf Serunkuma written something of the sort.
Calling them out and saying,
telling them it's not enough to just call us here, give us awards, and then the next day you're shaking.
But here is the trick. Your speech was good, but here's the trick. Yeah. See, exploitation has to generate internal criticism.
Yeah.
So you are criticizing them on the inside because you're already theirs.
Am I?
They've given you an award. You didn't decline it. It's a process. So later they'll give you a fellowship at Harvard. Yeah. It's a wonderful place. You can't decline that fellowship. You'll take it. But it's longer because they're looking at you 10, 15 years later.
So are we supposed to deny anything white and Western?
I'm not saying that.
But there's a record of someone who declined.
I'm saying help. Awareness is. In the medical industry, the core part of treatment is diagnosis,
not prognosis.
So if there is absolute awareness that, the irony, this is the wonderful irony, when the award was given to Spice and Tongo, and the same guy who gave it to Spice and Tongo was the next day
meeting,
shaking with the Spice and Tongo's potential oppressor. You know what I mean? And the relationship that SADC, the head of EU in this country, shares with Mahoska and Rugaba is way bigger than he shares with Spice and Tongo.
True.
Right?
True.
But the point I said at the very beginning is that it has to look authentic. It has to look open to criticism up to a certain level. If you declare that I'm a communist, you'll never get that award. If you said you're a communist, you never get that award.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
But I think, to be fair, it's more about the strategy. You get? Someone else's strategy could be, let me decline this thing and go back. Me, my strategy was, let me go and tell people to their face that I know they are just here holding a parade. And, they are not really serious about what they're doing at the end of the day, though there's an opportunity for them to get serious. I feel it's a similar conversation, like when we start to talk about organizations like the United Nations. The United Nations is just like this whole, something to... I agree. I totally agree. I think there are many flaws there, but the idea of the world coming together to work together for a common good or common things that they believe in is also a beautiful idea.
I'm a big defender of the United Nations, but go ahead.
Yeah, so for his reasons, you could share them after this. So I think really we just can't demonize everything like white or Western or be like, no, we are not going to go.
No,
we are not going to do this.
It's not demonizing anything white or Western.
Yeah.
It's demonizing a practice which has happened since the colonial time. When Serunkuma told us about Parliament being the bribe, what he said, the praise of the 1940 was invited to join the Legico, so that the Legico gave you a softer life, and in the process you forgot about the pains of your compatriots.
Is that the case?
My example is this guy. This guy nowadays drives a Volvo.
Come on.
I know. I've not seen a risky tweet from him in such a long time.
And when he's driving over Kampala's potholes, doesn't feel them the same way when he used to do them on a bike. So his sense of activism, in the short time, he'll remain on course. But once he gets to a Lexus and then a Land Cruiser, all of them potentially,
But it's
all of them at some point, because you see, they buy you into soft life slowly, quietly. It's a colonial model. So the critique,
here's the thing.
the critique is not about our white friends.
Yeah.
I got plenty of white friends, as you can imagine. Even nowadays, our black friends are part of this model. It's a model which is in place, that you get the brilliant. You see, when Bobby Wine emerges as a big force in this country, he gets a fellowship at Harvard. He would never get one if he hadn't emerged. They had seen him as an intern for all this time. But once he enters the political terrain, they realize possibly this guy.
That doesn't seem true.
But you need to understand.
What I'm saying is, there are many people who got the fellowships and they're not Bob Wine. The many ordinary Ugandans who get these fellowships, apply for them, get them. I have an uncle who went to Harvard, I think in the 70s, you get it? And he was not political, he just applied at medical school, something, and he went and got it.
Okay, so
I also think
you're cherry picking them and holding. You may have a point, that, if I were the EU person and there's a leading opposition figure like Bob Wine, I'm like, how old is that guy? He's 40-something. I'm like, that guy may be the president in the future. I want to carry favor with him. But it doesn't mean that all these fellowships, it doesn't mean that is the only reason he's getting it. You get it?
to be fair though,
Kwame Nkrumah was in the US, right? Before he came back and appended the table. Jomo Kenyatta in the UK appended the table. So sometimes it also works in favor of the Africans that when their best are taken in quotes. Sometimes there's miscalculation on the other side. They come back and they become very vocal.
I wasn't cherry picking, mentioning Bobby Wines. If you read my books around it,
which I've read,
I include myself in the critique. So the gamble is that you get the best from the subaltern world. You get the best. You get praise, and it is easy to get the best because they write an application, which is good.
yeah.
They send you their CV.
they're bitches.
They send you their accomplishments before, and you choose the best from amongst them, and you send them to Europe, or wherever. And the first thing you do is you teach them your language.
So it's a natural selection.
So they become friends. So two things will happen. They could stay in Europe, so they give their intellectual labor to Europe, or they might come back. But when they come back, look at the situation. If you trained in Germany and you trained in Russia, and Russia and Germany are conflicting over a coffee deal, and you're the PS,
You're likely to go with Russia. Where
you go, because if a German CEO walks into your office, he will talk to you in German. He'll remind you about the beautiful German cities which you're familiar with. And when the Russian guy walks in, you'd be like, yeah. Even if the Russian is giving you a better deal, chances are higher you're likely to go with the German, because there's so the trick, and you need to see this in numbers. In 2021, there were 1.6 million scholarship holders across Europe selected from the rest of the subaltern world.
Yeah, that includes
million.
India probably had about 50%. And
No, like they're very smart. They know how to spread it across.
Okay.
And the idea is that we bring them here. First, we ruin their countries. They ruin your countries, that your country can't give you a scholarship. Yeah, they ruin your country.
Yeah, how?
Makerere used to be free of charge. You remember that? No, it's not anymore.
Yeah. To what extent you blame that on the Ugandan? I mean, Nawangwe, and I'll mention names, unlike you, I'll mention names. Nawangwe is right now messing up Makerere. Yeah? These papers are questioned, but some says that he trained in Ukraine. Is it because he trained there that he came back with his agency? Let me mess up. Yeah, because while I like your arguments.
Nawangwe is a cog.
Yeah, I like your arguments.
He's a small
the only point of departure is how much of it then overlooks the role of the Africans in all this.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Africans, of course, have agency. But I want to speak to you, your dilemma. They have agency.
Yes, they do.
The dilemma that we are faced with as Africans, if the benevolence of a scholarship, you can't just decline a scholarship. Look, if you spend 2-3 years in the trenches of Kampala fighting for better human rights, and the EU invites you for an award as the Defender of the Year, even if you know these are the funders of my oppressor, it's difficult to decline recognition.
True.
And this is an institution of the EU. It has a name, it has prestige, it's a respected institution.
True.
So the dilemma of the African activist or the African scholar is that they throw you this, which looks really beautiful. And it's difficult to decline.
But means nothing.
And lady and gentlemen, I really appreciate that dilemma. It's not easy to overcome. Because if your country is failing to give you a good education, and Harvard throws you a rope to get a good education, even when you know they're trying to manufacture me into a cog to serve their interests later in life. This is why China is now giving the same things. China's also learned quickly that, you know what, we need to have workers in those countries. So China has a gazillion scholarship nowadays.
Yep.
Because they know the way this game is played, you have to have friends. And the best way to cultivate friends is you catch them young. You get a young Godwin Toko. He's maybe in his 22nd year, 23rd year. Like, a scholarship to China. He'll spend 10 years. He'll learn Chinese and come back here. And because he sent you his CV and you know he's a smart man, you know when he goes back to Uganda, he will not be one of the righteous. He'll be quickly raised. And where could he end? Either MP or minister or whatever. And the moment that happens, then
you have a guy, you have an ally.
The cultivation is longer, and the critique is not against our whiteness. There is a system in place which has been tried and tested over a long period. And they keep returning to it with a different face, a different beautification, a different name, a different label. And now it's more technical than crass.
Yusuf, we are in a trap. You're in a bottleneck. I mean, in a bottle, all of us. They say the grasshoppers in a bottle. So as Africans, as Ugandans, for instance, let's just take the sample space of Ugandans. Praise Aloikin, Toko, Yusuf, Spire, Agatha, all these other guys. How do we escape this trap? So the name of the podcast, what ought we do at this point to ensure that that isn't the case, that we are not using the name for this?
So for me, I think the beginning part is sort of cultivating a huge mass of people who really appreciate these dynamics.
Just know that this
is not simple benevolence. There's no free lunch. There's no free scholarship. In fact, the beauty of scholarships, you could sit down and write your own application, your own brain, your own time, and they give you an award, an embassy. Give you an award. They write it down as aid to government of Uganda.
Wow.
Yeah, that's true.
It's aid to government of Uganda, but it's an award that you applied for singly. So when they count at the end of the day, how much money did we give to government of Uganda?
The scholarship.
Over the scholarship.
It's one of the
part of aid to government of Uganda, which means for them they work differently. So you could celebrate your brilliance.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
got
a
this.
winner.
I worked hard. I spent sleepless nights. Yeah.
But for them, they say, okay, we're giving this to the government of Uganda. To understand this dynamic, I don't know if I told you the story. I found it real fascinating. I was explaining this to a bunch of Ugandans in Germany, and one of them who had just come from Belgium told me that a guy had won a scholarship for the Netherlands, to go to the Netherlands. He had finished processing his visa, and then this homosexual thing came out. and the Netherlands cancelled aid to government of Uganda.
And that included.
So was this. He could go. No, we cancelled all aid to government of Uganda.
I want to see that guy's face. What do I have to do with this?
Including his scholarship. He could go.
Yeah.
He's not in parliament. What can I do with Anita Mount? Zero.
So let me
Maybe
now.
he's even a pro.
Let me now move us to the next conversation.
Can I read just something small though on the building of the mast? I think it's not right to tell people like don't accept, don't take this. I feel it's a better approach for people to go in it knowing, okay, this is what the other people are trying to do. But
I'm
go
prepared
in
to face
knowing,
it.
prepared. Because you're well traveled, you're well learned, but you're still a Pan-Africanist. You still have these thoughts. So I think the thing is, how do we see more Africans get into these scholarships, these opportunities, but with mindsets like yours?
Exactly.
Yes, because we need that. We need the education, we need the skills, we need,
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So me taking the hour does conclude that conversation. I think I would take
Was that about you?
I feel the first segment was all about
let me move now to this issue of
But wait, Praise makes a good point.
yeah.
The awareness. I listen
Being
to
self-aware.
I listen to local language outlets, radio stations discussing, for example, Russia, Ukraine, right? They sound like they're discussing a movie.
Yeah.
They book at the headlines. They book at the headlines and
It's all American power. It's all American power. Nobody cares about the nitty-gritties.
Yeah.
This will blow your mind. When Americans are talking about our resources on the African continent, or in Venezuela, or in India, they talk about them as their resources. This is how they write.
So,
in their memos, they say, we have our oil in Uganda.
let me give you some
That's how they talk about our resources.
I was reading Hillary Clinton's book back at campus. Hard Choices.
Hillary Clinton.
I read everything.
Okay.
If the Saturn wrote a book, I would read it. I'm sure.
That's a major because they said it doesn't read certain things.
Yeah, I don't read certain things pushed at me, but out of my own volition, I read everything. In fact, if I don't like you, I'm likely to read the book more than if I like you. Because if I like you, I'm likely to see your viewpoint.
What's the point?
So the point is that when I was reading Hillary Clinton's book, Hard Choices, from the onset, I think after a few pages, she starts mentioning our interest. Then my mind was like, just highlight the number of times she says our interest, and then count. My God, the book is all, she was Secretary of State at that time. It's all about our interest in the DRI, our interest in Uganda, our interest in Iran, our interest. Like, it's just insane. So I feel like the other thing about all this is just how much we, as say Ugandans, don't have this agency to look at things at that level. More, if a Ugandan president or a prospective president won't say it, but they're probably more of my interest, my family, these other guys look at the world as this thing that we must conquer. Like it's there for the taking. Now for us, we're trying to protect so much what we have and we end up losing it. I think so.
Is that we need to open our eyes to what we have is rightly ours, especially our resources.
Our resources.
Our resources, our airwaves, for example. Our banking system. We need to see the things that we lost in the 80s and 90s as were ours. The loss of Uganda Commercial Bank, the loss of Uganda Telecom being taken over by UTL and MTN. We need
previously,
we need to
taking
cry.
over.
Previously, we remember
UECB. It was UEB, Uganda Electricity Board.
And giving us a supposedly quality service. Elsewhere, if you look at the spectrum of the countries that we call rich, the countries that we admire, those countries export their resources, their coffee, their
on their own terms,
their oil. Those countries, we send 70 girls to Saudi Arabia, 700 every day. 700?
Yeah. Per day?
Yeah, I think the figure is like we have 170.
How many is that in a year?
In the Middle East.
A year has how many? 361?
There's so
65 days times 700. That's such a huge number.
Those countries that we are running to go to, the genius of those countries is exploiting their resources.
Okay, so let's shift gears now and move to something else, Yusuf and Praise. So the conversation, it's been coming for a while, But then the most recent is, of course, Noop's nominations. So you have Matthias Walukaga, a respected Kadonkamu artist. I think the Kabaka gave him the equivalent of what would be Sir, the title of a Sir, knighthood in Buganda, in the Buganda system. I think he's immensely talented. And someone like Segona, this lawyer, known and all that, and he has a name, he's been in parliament for 15 years now. So Noop says, well, there's Segona, well, there is Walokaga, we are going with Walokaga. Noop says, well, there's Joyce Bagala, well, there's a lady called Mokisa, she's called Mokisa. We are going with Mokisa. Interesting. Muhammad Nsereko was described as the worst of the lot. So there has been this growing tendency of Ugandan voters to move away from the bougie look of a politician as this guy, suit wearing, lawyer, educated, English speaking. We started seeing this with the likes of Abiriga. Just comes and happens in parliament. Yeah, Abiriga seemed like every time he was going to speak, you're going to have a laugh, the laugh, the biggest laughter you've had. So now you have Segrini as well. I could put him in that category. Of these other people, they don't speak English like Yusuf. They don't dress like Praise, but they're now becoming a dominant force in parliament. So you said you talked about it being Museveni's onslaught on the elite, something like that. When Paul defended Walukaga's choice over Segona.
No, I am in Francis Zake's corner. I was actually actively campaigning for Francis Zake to become the leader of the opposition.
Why? Because that is ahead of Joel Senyonyi, ahead of Matthias Mpuga.
Right from the time they had Matthias Mpuga as the LOP, I was in Zake's corner. Still I am, but NUP is also conflicting. Is confusing to some degree. So many things are happening. From the question you asked me, there's so many parts that need to be sort of
unpacked,
taken care of individually. So we could begin with the NUP. So NUP in 2021, the identity of NUP then was a fighters' party.
A movement.
It was a movement. It wasn't about
people power.
It wasn't about going to the floor of parliament and being eloquent about issues. It wasn't a policy-driven identity. In fact, the idea of a wave, it meant we didn't care about your face. We didn't care about your policies. We didn't care about what you said.
All about umbrella. All about umbrella taking it.
In fact, one of the most outstanding stories was a woman in Sessa Island who was bought out of the election by the NRM candidate, took her money in the last, I think, 1 or 2 months, but the Electoral Commission refused to take her off the ballot. She did campaign 2 months to the election, or a month to the election. She was on a winner buying merchandise. And
then they announced her winner.
She was announced winner.
There was this joke that Paul said, now we have voted you guys, can we see who you are like after the election? East, West?
Yeah, they said 2 days later Nyeko went to the markets trying to thank the electorate, and they were asking him, who are you?
The very electorate that voted him into office.
That was the identity of NUP. Nobody cared about their policies. So in that sort of movement, I was for Zake.
Being the LOP.
He's a rabble-rouser, so he will mess up this place. So that was the identity that NUP crafted at the very beginning. Now, 5 years in, they've now showed us that they are a policy.
Just another political party.
They are technocrats. They can discuss policy. This is why we have had more scrutiny of the NUP manifesto than we did before. Like maybe a couple of weeks in, there's intense scrutiny, and NUP's office said, we're now explaining our manifesto. We didn't care about the manifesto.
Isn't this a catch-22?
No. I need to finish this. I said there's so many parts. Nobody cared about their manifesto in 2021.
I'm sure some people cared.
The minority.
No, I just told about a wave. The wave didn't care. They didn't even know who they were voting
for.
When
Boy went to radio and talked about fiscal policy, there are those who made a big deal out of it. He doesn't understand fiscal policy.
So that's the other part. That's the elite part.
Yeah.
I think for me, Patrick Amara was asking the wrong question.
Yeah.
Was asking the right question about the wrong person, the wrong group.
That question was for NRM.
That question was, no, in our politics, those questions don't count anymore. Those technical policy questions, they don't make sense.
To the politicians.
What makes sense is how do we end Museveni's hold on power? Then we can sort ourselves later. So that's a core question to the voter. And if you understand the wave really well, is that it meant
ending Museveni's reign.
This is why, if you look at the slogans they crafted,
New Uganda. It was a New Uganda?
No. Removing a dictator was a key slogan.
It was the main, actually.
It was the main
We are removing
slogan.
a dictator.
We're removing a dictator. The other slogan was Mission 2021. Again, removing a dictator.
In 2021.
So the crux of their identity was simply removing a dictator, and we loved that. That's all we cared.
She had to do with Museveni more than them.
Now we are confused about their identity. They still insist on removing a dictator, but they pride in having an articulate LOP. They take pride in being that they articulate issues on the floor of Parliament. So we're confused about their identity. So why we're asking them questions. If you take pride in being articulate and writing a good manifesto and discussing policy,
How different are you?
then Segona would be your guy.
I know it, Waluka.
If you are still the old group
Walukaga is
removing
your
a dictator, Walukaga is your guy, right? So their identity is confusing at this point. And I said on Radio 1 last Friday that the NRM has managed to box them into policy, and they bought in. It's the NRM and some of you, journalists and elite, who have pushed a movement which is only interested in removing Museveni into matters of policy. And too bad for them. They have bought
Fell
in.
into the trap.
They are now discussing, and they're taking pride in it. You said we can do it, give you a wonderful manifesto. They're taking pride in it, but wrongly.
Structure.
They're taking pride in the wrong thing because we knew them. We loved them.
For not being that.
For removing
the
their
dictator.
ishlessness was their genius. Now they've bought into it, thanks to journalists like Patrick Amara, who made this viral interview where he asks Bobby Wine about a policy issue. And he seemed out of sorts, right? And then became viral. So journalists, pundits,
Elite.
NRM, because you see, even NRM doesn't win because it has a good manifesto. No, they don't win because they have a good manifesto. They just win.
Yeah.
They don't win. They're just declared winners.
But in this particular conversation, first of all, understood fine. Who is the Ugandan elite?
No, that's a very problematic question also. But I think in simple Ugandan speak, they mean somebody who has gone to school and speaks good English. In simple Ugandan speak.
So when Besige says the elite are the biggest problem.
Yeah, like people who for example, went to university
Yeah.
and then big offices, they speak English and that's all they do.
All of us here, the three of us are elite.
Are elite. We qualify. We
Okay.
can speak.
Okay.
But not the problem in it. So, yeah.
But the word is big. It could take away three things. You talk about the political elite. The political elite, say in Nairobi, are those who move things. We talk about an elite force, the
That's
best trained,
The special force.
the special forces. It's the elite. We talk about the elite. You talk about technocrats, like the bureaucrats who move things. Right?
So in Uganda, we use it in a very
we use it for as long as you speak English. You
Went to
dress
school,
nicely,
to the
you went to
university
school.
level.
So great. I think it's regrettable.
I had a problem with Besige saying that.
You categorize
No.
it in those three categories.
I actually had personally, and I respect Besige a lot,
Yeah.
I had a problem with him saying that. Because if you look at since 2021, 2001, I think Besige has got the biggest support from the elite. Like where Besige wins is where the elite, there's a constitutional elite. He will get his highest vote in Mara City. He will get his highest vote in Arua town, in Kampala City. Like the people there are the elite.
Really?
Yeah? Should they do more than the voting?
generalize.
I think even then, yes. Because when Besige is arrested, there are lawyers who literally put their law firm's future on the line and say, I'm going to defend this guy.
But I feel those are the minority of that.
Yes.
Because if you even go back to like the movement we're talking about, the people power movement,
Yeah.
significantly, it has the non-elite leading it. Those are people willing to risk their lives on the street.
In this case, Bobo
willing
would be an
to
elite.
push. You get?
In this case, Bobo will be an elite.
Picking him out as a figurehead,
transition.
that is not true. Even look at him
Yeah.
before trying to transition into the elite. He was that ganja boy, that boy off the street, the ghettos. And if you look at even the people that push for him, still up to now, the people who are risking, whom you want to like lead the revolution, to be at the front line of the,
They are not
they are
elite.
not the elites. Because the elites are sort of comfortable. Yes, we want this thing you're fighting for, but we are going to be at the back and sort of push it to the front or something of that sort. You get?
But also, elites are not fighters. We make these mistakes. Elites are not fighters.
Why aren't they fighters?
Well, Because you see, to lead a revolution, there's so many people who play different things.
Roles.
So you're trying to say that non-elites are the ones whose lives should be risked more?
Even the elite risk their life, even when they're not fighters.
More
directly.
That's when you say it's risky.
More directly.
When you look at revolution movements across the world, they're moved by students. Students.
Yeah, but in our definition of elites here,
let's say historically, if you ask the educated to take to the streets, they would not. And historically, they would never. It's people who have
nothing to lose. Yeah, that lead every revolution.
They're younger, they've been
they have the hype.
No, they've been educated. They've been given the wonderful slogans who take to the street. Historically, from Iran to Ethiopia to China to the United States.
Even Uganda.
But now context, everyone has everything.
Even Uganda, right?
Really?
I agree.
Really?
But once you become property, this is what was the fascination of the colonial movement. The colonial movement wanted you to become an elite, wanted you to become, sort of cross. The policy of assimilation was not meant by the French to sort of make us French. No, to make sure you don't fight, to get you out. In Congo,
to make you French.
They have the Evolue, even Patrice Lumumba. But Patrice Lumumba was a columnist in local newspapers.
Oh, interesting.
He was a columnist who was a salesman of beer. He used to sell a beer called Paula. And the revolution was led in bars. So it was in bars
where the conversation happened.
The actual conversion towards liberating Congo happened. And because it was in bars, Lumumba was able to access it. Lumumba was a colonial comprador at the very beginning. He bought into the colonial promise of modernity.
Yes.
So, but when he became a salesman of beer, first going to jail for embezzlement, and then later becoming a seller of beer, he had access to different vibe about the struggle. And because he was a good reader, voracious reader, he was able to, transit.
Analyze things.
So in about 6 years, he was the radical, emerging from sort of a lava of a colonial modernity. But in the bars, so the point I'm trying to make here is that in the bars, who do you find in the bars? In the dinges,
the
downtown?
Ordinary people, the non-elite.
You find ordinary folk articulating the struggle. And from among them, you see, when after the struggle is won, they'll look for a technocrat and say, hey, Praise, you went to school. We didn't. We've overthrown the guys, so please. In fact, the challenge, I wrote in my Observer column last week, that Bobi Wine is expected, after leading the revolution, to look back and say, who should now run this country?
He shouldn't be the one.
No, because now it's going to be a different thing. The man is fallen. The promise is fallen.
My aim was to make sure that
you don't need a foot soldier to become the PS. They're not going to do that. You don't get a senior wonderful foot soldier to make him PS of finance. You're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Certainly.
You look for either Ramadan Gobi, who's been doing it since Ramadan.
Now come and
you continue the PS.
But on these terms now.
But on these terms. You're going to look for somebody who went to school and studied, because we abuse Museveni for cheapening education.
But someone tried the other way around. They didn't. How was it in the 70s? Did Amin also look for the educated and said,
the young people who went from university into ministers was because they went to school.
In the 70s and Amin?
Yeah, aggressive India was from his graduate degree, he went straight to become a minister because he was educated. Idi Amin looked for the best brains. In fact, even when he was kicking out the Indians, he insisted the educated Indians, those in serious public service, we retained 20,000 Indians stayed in Uganda. They didn't leave because Amin wanted them to work, because the government is going to collapse. You get taken from Naro will close. Mpoma satellite, many Indians working there, you will collapse after they leave, if all of them leave in 30 days. So Idi Amin retained 20, he kicked out 50,000, 20 stayed. Of course, because of our education, you don't get rid of this stuff, but 20 stayed.
Now, so let's now get to, as we wind down now this conversation. So back to that raw conversation, elite versus non-elite. So as if it gets to the level of being, what you're saying is that if it gets to the level of policy, going to parliament, and then say gonna any day, any time is better than.
But okay, I wanted to say the bit about, there's a bit I missed to say about Segona specifically.
Yes.
And the others like him. You could add Norbert Mao, you can add Matthias Mpuga. You could add a couple other people in that bracket. This is the problem with struggles which don't end.
Yeah.
When struggle stays longer,
Yeah.
we expire as activists.
Yeah, that's why we should boycott elections.
We expire.
Maybe not.
If a struggle goes on for long, you lose your oomph, you lose your energy.
The most vocal
that's
opposition
so
MPs 20 years ago,
you lose it.
many of them are now endorsing
These are
Museveni.
victims of struggles which don't end.
Yeah.
So think about Norbert Mao. If Museveni had left power 20 years ago,
He probably would have been
Mao
president
would be
somewhere.
pursuing a different direction.
He probably would have been president somewhere in the mix.
So this is what Museveni has denied us. Is to say, I am tired, I've done my bit, let me leave. He's so selfish to that degree
That is his sin.
that many people have expired, and he prides in buying expired products.
Yeah.
You know, so
Rather join than completely be the loser.
also
Yeah.
because after a long time you got family, you got children, your health is
When you're
failing,
beaten so frequently, you're like,
your
why am I
health
getting
is
beaten?
failing. And he's sending you emissaries every day. Hey, by the way, I could give you a position. I could send you to India for medical treatment.
But
This is why I don't laugh. I stopped laughing at crossovers.
people crossing over from the
Okay.
inside to then.
Because look,
We may not laugh, but we are going to hold you
I've become
accountable.
more sympathetic because let me explain. We are all like organic products
Eventually you expire.
or industrial products. You have a shelf life.
After which?
After which your uselessfulness stops, reaches a level that you're now,
Diminishes.
you are a flower, a rose flower. It's beautiful. For how long can you hold on to it? After 5 days, you want to throw it in the bin.
Yusuf, let me
Let me finish this imagery. I think Praise is being skeptical.
No.
Let me finish this
I
imagery.
feel it's victimizing people and making them look like they completely don't have choice.
That's the problem with
But
struggles which
I
don't
feel
end.
people have been through
They eat us.
worse struggles. I was refraining from quoting this particular person, but I'll quote him anyway because it's what history taught us in class and what we learned. But let's look at people like who have been in prison, like Nelson Mandela for 27 years. Yeah?
Good example.
you've given the wrong example. Yusuf is going to roast you.
No. It's okay. No.
Why?
Okay, I know
Yusuf is going to roast you.
I know. I see it coming.
You should have used Robert Sobukwe. You should have used
No, carry on. I know,
Okay,
I know what he's thinking.
What he's thinking.
I'm not
You
thinking
may
like
do
that.
it, okay.
No, I'm not going to do that.
But these are people who have been stretched out.
Yeah, use Kizza
And,
messages.
yes, Kizza Besigye, and they don't sell out.
Exactly.
Like they're going to, they'll say, a new person has come on the opposition, they're the show of the party, you're no longer the it thing, but they won't sell out. He's in prison right now, they won't sell out.
Yeah.
They won't sell out.
Hussein Chanja.
Exactly.
So the painting of these people as weak, they're finally this is their breaking point is wrong.
Okay.
Because I feel this is just a manifestation of things that were hidden deep within these people. You get? It's like the conversation we have currently among the young people in this country. You're not really fighting for change. You're just fighting to be on the table so you can eat.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's why we have things like political careers coming up.
That's a fair point. But let me return to the imagery of products.
That expire.
Let me use industrial products. You have a vintage car. Even when on the street, where it's not working, still looks good. You have, I don't want abusing people's cars, but
Say it.
You have a RAV4.
you have a RAV4. At some point, once it's old, it's for the bin.
Okay.
It's for the bin.
Is that what the struggle
You have a
is?
tractor. A tractor will give you 30, 40 donkey years of good service.
After that, you can't.
After that,
you can't push it
you
harder.
buy your Toyota after 20 years. It can't continue. We all have our shelf lives built inside.
But Yusuf, how
He's
come
a
Besigye has had a shelf life longer than?
He's a vintage car. He's a tractor. We have TVs, we have rose flowers. They look exciting and beautiful, but they can't stay for too long.
Yusuf, on that, do you think our issue, like how we've built our movements over time, is part of the issue where we center people instead of ideologies? You get
No, we
like how we like to call these movements leaderless movements now,
And-
and the heroic movements. So you had Museveni, you have Kizza
And
Besigye, you have
just your
Bobi
analogy
Wine.
of tractors and Toyotas. I for one wouldn't mind if a tractor is past. A Toyota is past its sell by date. So I wouldn't mind someone having opposed Museveni forever, getting
they go
tired and
back to
saying,
retirement.
no, they say
Yes,
like,
so-
I'm now relaxing,
Yeah,
I'm now
it's
back in.
okay.
Yeah,
I would
where the
understand
problem for me comes is
It's
how they
suddenly,
shift
yes,
and then
I
become
think the best.
the opposition
There's a
to
part I
what
said.
they believed
You
in
missed
years
the
ago.
part I said there's a guy in town who prides in buying expired products. There's a guy in town
Bob senior agula mawulira makadde.
He's a collector. And he finds that product at its most vulnerable. He finds you sick.
And these are not vulnerable people in our
He
community.
finds you in debt.
Politically,
He finds you in debt. He finds you with ill health. He finds you he finds you already
Ready
with
for buying.
dirty files on you because there was a period where you were active and you made mistakes. Maybe with banking, maybe with your health. And he finds at that moment says, I can help you. I'm saying the bottom line is struggles which don't end
have their victims.
ruin the warriors.
Let me ask you.
Activists, praise, count me in. I have an experience.
To offend you.
Yeah, so Yusuf, so we are concluding, and I just want to ask you two things about these expired goods and expired opposition.
We all expire.
Yeah, but we want defects.
Including
Yusuf.
Yusufu.
And the buyer is about to expire, right?
What's that?
What of the buyer? Does the buyer have an expiry date?
No,
We'll
we'll talk about the buyer another time.
That's why Bobby Wine is that
Let's talk about the buyer another time. Let's stick on the expiry.
Okay.
of the product.
In our expiry, it takes different formats. There's something which expire and you can continue wearing your watch when it's expired. A rose flower is so likable. It connects hearts, but it's for the bin.
Once it's expired, that's
A
it.
car, you can park it in front of your house. It's expired. You don't drive it, but you can park it. You can take it to a museum. Right? So our expiry takes different formats. There are people who expire and just go home and sit. People who have expired inside the aquarium and they're still there. They're like, that's a wonderful Rolex watch. It doesn't count.
I thought you'd mention a name from West Nile, but you went for Busoga.
You can put any names that you want. So we all expire. And since we're all products, our expiry takes different formats.
But what ought, Yusuf? What ought to be?
Yeah. When you look at Odinga, for instance.
No, we're victims at this moment that we are trapped in a struggle which has ruined many wonderful people. Look, when you look at the spectrum of the elite, Segona,
Matthias
Mpuga,
Abed Bwanika.
These are wonderful Ugandans. These are the best we produced in the last 20 years. These are wonderful Ugandans. But if you see them in the last 5 years, you're like, these are lumpens. If you see them in the last 1 year, you forget
that there's a
that
history.
there was a time. You think at the moment, if Walk to Work had succeeded,
Where would
Mpuga
Mpuga
be
be?
Prime Minister? He wouldn't be corrupted by a system.
What if this
Parliament.
was the test?
What's that?
The test of time.
Yeah,
To
maybe
prove these people
exposed who he
against
was.
their ideologies, against what
Like
they
as
say
Prime
they were
Minister, if he was
fighting
corrupted
for.
by this, he could have been corrupted by much more.
Yeah, because
No. Look, Marx. I return to Marx. I can't be Marxist, but Marx said our decisions are normally determined by our material conditions.
That's true.
So I don't know about tests. I don't want to speculate on people having hidden motives.
really,
I don't want to speculate on that.
but that
I would, but I'm just saying that. Look,
Yeah,
if
you
you
make
fell
a
in love
point,
with me, if you fell in love with me when I was a university student, and you said I was selfish, you're not fair because I was broke. I had nothing to give you. So if you judged me in that material time and you said I was selfish, you're being mean.
But
to
really,
me.
but I feel
Okay.
that takes away the
and if you
whole
find me
idea of
later-
accountability.
What I'm arguing is that the material and associational conditions determine our decisions.
Not
That makes
always, but
determination.
okay.
In a way, I agree with you. I see where you're coming from, but
Yeah.
I also see where.
You see,
So I'm the referee now. I see where she's coming from. I see where you're coming from.
I
So
wouldn't,
you want to take us where we are
I
going?
wouldn't speculate on anybody as having hidden motives which appear 10 years later.
So should we clap?
Being inherently
We should clap.
What should we
We
do?
should be critical,
but remember that at the back of the mind.
sympathetic. We should be critical. Look, Segona was a wonderful lawyer. They suffered at the pains of this government.
Museveni would say the
So
same.
Yusuf,
And you're calling him a dictator
Yusuf, as we
now.
conclude now, finally, what's your take on Odinga, right? Odinga.
Okay, I mean, a couple of
so
things.
rest.
Yeah.
And there's so much praise.
Yeah, may his soul rest in peace.
There's so much praise around Odinga.
Yeah.
Most Ugandans know so little. I'm one of those who know so little, but I want to say that he's a wonderful example at two levels. The first level is that his death is a reminder about death, right? And as you know, for the last, I think, 1 or 2 years, I've been writing about death. And I say old age comes with plenty of complications. Old age comes with frailties. Odinga was 80. We have an 81-year-old president. And I every time
there's a group that elected an 85-year-old as president this year.
And I felt so.
One of my worries in this moment is Museveni not waking up the next day. When he's still president. And he would not wake up because he overslept, but because he's dead. That worries me much more than anything else. Because you see what Museveni has done, unfair to us, he has killed any other institution which would hold the country together. He has killed the judiciary. You say religious leaders, they're all corrupted. We disrespect them. You say traditional leaders.
Parliament.
Every institution you think of, police, EPDF, that you think about, if Museveni suddenly died, would hold the country together. All those things have been cheapened. They're like, they don't have credibility. Nobody will listen to them. So that's my first take. That Odinga.
You seem to have a fear about that.
I do.
I don't.
I do.
Why?
Because well, for me, if people have no reason to stay together, move on. I mean, there are countries
what do you mean staying together?
I mean, like there are countries like Czechoslovakia. Not Czechoslovakia. There are countries that literally had so many different groups that were warring. Or that were held together by one leader.
What are you talking about now?
So what I'm saying is this. If the only reason we are staying together is Museveni, and Museveni dies, maybe there will be some bloodshed, but maybe the best thing is for everyone to break off and move on.
And go where?
Okay, from another country. There's an example. There's an example like Croatia. All these countries broke up from a country that was held by one dictator, right?
Why are you stretching it so far to breaking up? I'm not talking about breaking up.
Okay, maybe that then makes it different.
I don't talk about bloodshed lightly.
Neither do I.
But it will happen.
Neither do I. I don't talk about it lightly.
I take it serious that Museveni has set up this country for that.
For bloodshed.
Okay.
Bloodshed. Okay. So that bothers me. That if he fails to wake up one day, we will have nothing to hold us together. So we're looking at Somalia, we're looking at South Sudan, we're looking at
Sudan.
We're looking at Central Africa, Libya.
Yes.
We had a long-staying president who disappears all of a sudden.
That makes it different then,
without a single institution
to hold the country together.
So that bothers me.
And there are guns involved.
You're right. They are most bothered by that.
That's what we're staring at.
I'm bothered by that.
And if we could take an example, the example from Prime Minister Odinga's death. He died of a heart attack all of a sudden in India at a wonderful facility. Museveni travels around with hospitals, right?
An ambulance, a doctor, yes.
But the possibility of old age
eventually doing its thing.
Because you see, I'm a Muslim, and in Islam we believe that God gave us treatment for every single illness
except death.
Except old age.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a nice one.
Nobody cures old age. You could all do all the surgeries you ever think about.
All the exercise,
but
all the press-ups.
At some point, the body says, I'm tired. Okay?
All right.
The body says, I'm tired because there's no cure for aging. So that's
that
what we're
makes you
staring.
That's the second thing about it. That's the second thing.
The second thing that is in his death and his heroic
status. Yes.
That's how I think about Kizza Besigye. Yeah, like Kizza Besigye has been able to hold Uganda together without holding an office. But
you think Besigye is the Odinga of Uganda?
Yeah, he's held this country together. And I worry that if Kizza Besigye died in prison, any Arab Museveni will have a rude awakening that the man who held this country together was him.
That's a question to have another debate. That's something really huge to say.
You guys don't believe me? Should I? How much time have we got?
I'll give you 2 minutes.
How much time?
I'll give you 2 minutes to explain that. Yeah.
So I think for the last 20 years, maybe up to 2021, it was Kizza Besigye holding Uganda together.
Yes.
Because
how?
Kizza Besigye, when he lost the 2001 election, and he lost the 2006 election in 2011, in all those different elections,
in 2016,
Kizza Besigye had a cult following, and there were calls to pick up arms and fight Museveni.
And he didn't heed.
And if Besigye heed one of those calls, he would have lost. He wouldn't fight an armed rebellion against Yoweri Museveni. But even in loss, this country will never be the same. Because if a man who came last in 1980 went to the bush, many people died and became victorious.
What of the guy
Think about a guy who was
actually
second and actually had the people
support.
And
some even say he won. Right? If that guy had said, okay, Zivuge, surely would have had people following him. And not 27.
But do you think it would have the same effect now, especially with Bobby Wine in that
No,
picture?
I think, before you stretch it to Bobby Wine, I think Besigye would never won a military struggle. But that military struggle would have left this country ruined. And this man, even when he knew he would not get victory in court, he stuck to the democratic path.
Going to court.
Even when he knew, I'm going to lose, but let me demonstrate something.
Let me test the institutions and build them by testing them.
And
he built them.
That's the thinking.
that's not my position.
That's the
I'm
thinking.
just saying that in
law we say every case gives us a precedent.
Choosing,
And then use it
in choosing to lose democratically,
He held the country together.
he would have chosen to lose militarily.
Next point. Now you make your point clear.
He'd have ruined this country. So if he died in prison,
That's a big deal.
they'll wake up to realize this man actually held this, because a new man might emerge, and when calls for armed struggles come, but when he knows he's not going to win,
It's like, let's go for that.
so let's take the gamble.
For fear of digression.
Okay.
For fear of digression, Toko, just one.
Okay.
When we say democratic, does following the constitution also count as something democratic?
What do you mean following the constitution?
For example, currently we are speaking of elections and like, oh, he followed the democratic path because we are talking about elections. But if someone proceeded under Article 3-4 of our constitution, which tells us to resist by all means possible
The overthrow.
any
That's following the
person that,
constitution. That's following the constitution,
exactly.
yeah.
So then that also be democratic if he picked up arms.
Okay, I think I used the word democratic
In a different sense.
problematically.
Yes,
I
okay.
agree.
That sense of human lives.
I just thought that the general public should know that picking up.
I want to agree with you that the word democracy is very problematic even for me using
Yeah.
it. I thought, the audience might not like the other terminology I would use.
Yeah.
Maybe democracy is safer.
Okay.
But I also think overthrowing the constitution, as Kabumba argued, is a constitutional means. If you overthrow a government, it's constitutionally protected.
Okay, thank you very much, Yusuf. Thank you very much, Praise. This is the very first episode. We hope to have many more of these. You guys haven't thanked me.
Oh, thank you, Toko.
Thankless job. So we hope to have many more of these. And if you want us to host anyone in particular, these are more chill, laid-back conversations by Agora and Pelton. We are trying to cook something. We hope it comes out nice. So thank you, Yusuf. If you have anyone you want us to host, let us know in the comments. Please subscribe, like, comment,
Share.
share. Tell us where we went wrong. Tell us where we went right. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you didn't like as well. See you on the next episode.